Hello everyone. Before we move on to the new lesson, let me correct your homework first. This is the answer key for the chapter 2, the video clip, Business Ethic. Now let's move on to Unit 3, New Trends in Children's Media Use. Something to think about. Firstly, think about different types of media that you have already used today, and how many of them. Did you check email today? Did you turn on television? Did you listen to music? How about using smartphones? Did you read newspaper? Now let's take a look at this media use survey. How often do you do the following? Check the box for the best answer. Then, compare your answers with a classmate. How does your media use compare to that of your classmate? How has your use of media changed in the last 5 years? And why has it changed? You have 3 minutes to complete the survey. Next, please open your book, page 29. Read a passage, Our Digital World, and summarize it. You have 10 minutes to read and summarize the passage. According to the passage, the advancing technology has changed our media use, mostly because online electronic sources of technology has replaced the printed text, including newspapers and magazines. Please use the information from the text and describe the 3 recent trends in digital media use. To do the task, you should compare how we used media in the past with how we use it now. Trend number 1. Media is increasingly participatory. In the past, audiences were passive receivers of information, but now the audiences can actively participate in media. For example, they can create and share media. Trend number 2. The use and variety of mobile electronic devices is increasing. In the past, people mostly used television and desktop computers, but now portable computers are more popular anytime and anywhere. Trend number 3. Media multitasking is more common. In the past, people only used one type of media, but now we tend to use 2 or more types of media simultaneously. Please use the information from the text and answer the questions. Write T for true or F for false for each statement. Number 1. Increasing media use is making people more passive. This statement is false because people are becoming more active. Number 2. People use more media because they have more devices. This statement is true. Number 3. Everyone agrees that multitasking develops strong thinking skills. It's false, because not everyone agrees with this statement. Many of them think that multitasking leads to shorter attention span and weaker thinking skills. Part D. Vocabulary. Match the words from the reading with their definitions. Look back at the report on page 29 to check your answers. You have 3 minutes to do the task. Number 1. Text is H, the main body of words in a printed or written document, article, book. Number 2. Constant is D, happening or existing all the time. Number 3, exposure is A, seeing or being in contact with something. Number 4, convenient is G, easy to use. Number 5, concurrently is C, existing or happening at the same time. The synonym of this word is simultaneously. Number 6, intensely is E, very strongly or seriously. Number 7, confidence is F, feeling sure of your own abilities or opinion. Number 8, infer is B, to reach a conclusion from the information that you have. E, circle the best definition of the underlined phrase. For students with a short attention span, lecturers can sometimes feel boring. So, attention span is A, the amount of time you can concentrate on something. F, discuss these questions in a group. Share your answers with the class. Question 1. In what ways are you a participatory audience member? Have you ever posted comments about a television program or shared a compelling or important story or video online? Share your experiences. Number 2. Do you think multitasking makes you work more or less efficiently, and why? Now let's move on to listening strategy. If you are listening to a long lecture with many ideas, how can you tell the general ideas from supporting examples and explanations? It's not easy because sometimes the generalization comes before the supporting information, but some other times the supporting information can lead to the generalization. So, you should use the expressions below to recognize the generalization and supporting information. For each expression, please tell me whether it is a generalization or a supporting information. This leads us to believe is a generalization expression. I hope you can see that comes with a supporting information. We can infer from this that generalization. This demonstrates that generalization. Let me back this up with a story supporting details. What can we infer from this? Generalization. What can we conclude from this? Generalization. Part J. Read these excerpts from a lecture about multitasking. Underline the lecture language that signals a generalization or supporting information. You have 1 minute to do the task. Excerpt 1. The expression is, let me back this up with some findings. So, in this case, the generalization comes first and the supporting detail follow it. Excerpt 2. The expression is, this leads us to believe that. So in this case, the supporting details are spoken first and the generalization comes later. Now let's move on to the note-taking skill. When listening to a lecture, you don't need to write every single word that you hear. The best note-takers just focus on writing the key words or important words. These are often nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. This way, you can take notes more quickly and more efficiently. Let's practice. Please read this lecture excerpt and take note. You have 1 minute to do the task. These are some sample notes. How about your notes? Practice B. You will do this task at home. Read this excerpt from a lecture about technology and communication, then take notes in your notebook using keywords. You are going to listen to a short lecture about multitasking. Write T for true or F for false next to each statement. Please download the audio file from Blackboard, then play the file and do the task. Number 1. When people change tasks often, they do them more slowly. It's true. Number 2. Your brain works twice as hard when you are working on 2 different tasks at the same time. It's false. According to the lecture, your brain works less efficiently when you are multitasking. Number 3. Multitasking is an important skill in today's workplace. It's true. Now, this time, please listen to the short lecture again and write down the lecture language that signals a generalization or support. Then listen again and write down the generalization or the support. Let me show you the key for the task. Number 1. Lecture language. Generalization. Number 2. The lecture language is, and the generalization is. Lecture 3. The lecture language is, the generalization is. Lecture 4. The lecture language is, and the supporting information is. Now we move
Lecture
on to
3.
Lecture 2. You are going to watch
The lecture
a lecture
language is,
and take notes in your notebook. The generalization is. Lecture 4. The lecture language. Now please use your notes to answer these questions on page 34. And the supporting information is. Question 1. What are 3 ways access to media has changed in the last 50 years? Lecture 3. The lecture language is. The generalization is. Question 2. Why did researchers infer that young people today do a lot of multitasking? The lecture language is. And the supporting information is. Question 3. When a young person has access to media in her bedroom, how does that change her media use? The lecture language is. The generalization is. Question 4. What are some of the negative effects of increased media use? The lecture what are some of the positive effects? And the supporting information is. Now, listen again to the lecture and complete the notes in the handout. The lecture language is. The generalization is. Please pause the video and do the task. Lecture 4. The lecture language is. And the supporting information is. Let me show you the answers for the notes. Lecture 3. The lecture language is. The generalization is. Lecture 4. The lecture language is. And the supporting information is. Lecture 3. The lecture language is. The generalization is. Lecture 4. The lecture language is. And the support